Coming to you live from Radio Cayman Studio.
For the record.
For the record. Hear from your government officials, independents, and the opposition on issues that matter to you. The record. Engage in an open dialogue between residents and lawmakers.
For the record.
The record. Informative, impartial, insightful.
This is your talk show.
1-800-534-8255. Your calls, your input. This is For the Record. And now, your host, Orit Connor.
Good morning and welcome to For the Record on today, Friday, the 17th of April, 2015. I'm your host, Orit Connor, and For the Record is a show produced by the staff and management of Radio Cayman, and it is designed specifically to keep you up to date, keep you abreast of issues as they arise and play out on the local, regional, and international scene. As I said earlier, I am your host, Orit Connor, also known as OC, and some people call me other things as well, but we won't mention those on the radio. And you are welcome to join me, and I know that you do join me every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 7:30 until 9:30 a.m. for the record. And yes, I know some of you say 2 hours is not enough. Maybe we should go on until 10 o'clock, but that's a discussion for another day. We'll look into that. If you make the show really popular, then maybe management will say we better extend it. But for now, you can join me from 7:30 until 9:30. And like I say, I know that you join me, and I thank you for joining me as well. We have a toll-free number. Our phone lines are always open, and our toll-free number provided by Lime is 1-800-534-8255. You can also call us on 949-8037 or on 949-6990. And if you don't want to talk on the telephone, then you can email us at For the Record. That is one word, For the Record, at candw.ky. I must tell you, though, I must be honest with you and say that we're having some issues with our internal internet service or Wi-Fi, and I am unable at this point in time to get emails on For the Record. But you can call in on the numbers given. Miss Susan, if you don't want to talk on the telephone, then Miss Susan will convey your expressions, your views to me, and then I can discuss them or air them on the line. So for those of you who would normally email us, I'm unable to read your emails this morning. You can send the emails, but I'm unable to read them, and unless it is up and running before the show is over, I won't be able to respond to those until Monday morning, hopefully. But anyway, again, I want to welcome you. I want to thank you. I want to thank you for welcoming For the Record and Radio Cayman into your homes, into your vehicles as you traverse the roads of the Cayman Islands, and into your places of work, whether it be an office or even outdoors, because I know even you guys on the construction sites, some of you who are allowed to listen to radios, do listen to For the Record as well. This morning, we're going to change the dialogue a little bit. We won't be talking politics this morning. We don't have Mr. Steve McField and Mr. Christopher Saunders with us. We will be talking about something that is near and dear to my heart and near and dear to the hearts of many of you out there in our listening audience. We're going to be talking about cycling. We're going to talk about cycling in general, and then we're going to talk specifically about a cycling event that will be taking place on the 26th of April, and it is a cycling event that is designed to benefit those who are more vulnerable in our society. And you always hear me talking about us being our brothers and our sisters' keepers, and we will be talking this morning about an organization that certainly fulfills that role of being our brothers and our sisters' keepers. So with those few words, I want to welcome Mr. Craig Marin, who is the president of the Cayman Islands Cycling Association, He's been involved in cycling for many years. I believe he attended the 1952 Olympic Games. No, not that far back. But probably going back to 1970.
No,
84,
88, 92.
In 84 was in LA.
In LA, Los Angeles.
Yeah, that was the year that the Russians boycotted.
That's right. Yes.
That was the year that the Russians
yeah.
boycotted. So we're going to have Mr. Craig Merrin, the president of the Cycling Association, and then we're going to have we also have Mr. Raul Nicholson with us, and he's going to be performing a dual role. We don't have other representatives of this particular organization that we're going to be talking about, but he will be speaking on their behalf, as well as he is also the treasurer for the Cayman Islands Cycling Association. And we also want to talk about the Cayman Islands Cycling Association, some of the founding members of the Cayman Islands Cycling Association, as well as the current membership of the executive of the Cayman Islands Cycling Association, and the goals and objectives of the Cycling Association as well. So with those few words, gentlemen, Craig, good morning and welcome to For the Record.
Well, morning, Mr. OC, and thanks for having us this morning on For the Record. And hopefully we have a good plug-in this morning to talk about full cycling and upcoming events and this big central ride, one of the biggest on the calendar, and a lot of people look forward for.
Raul, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, OC. Thank you very much for that, Rose, and welcome. Also, I got your computer up and working For the Record.
Oh, great. Great.
So I've got you connected to my digital LTE phone, so you have high-speed internet access.
Lion, you better watch out. Digital.
So you can receive your emails while you're here. But in all seriousness, thank you very much for this. This is it's actually very dear to my heart in terms of this particular charity, Feed Our Future, which was founded by Stacey Vanderveld. It's an amazing charity, one that is completely altruistic, and it aims to feed kids who are less fortunate and provide meals for them while they're in primary school. And I thought when I got involved with cycling, cycling is about creating an environment, healthy environment for persons to be able to exercise in a safe manner. But I thought, what a wonderful idea. Why not partner with Feed Our Future and use the appeal of cycling to raise funds for kids that are less fortunate? So this ride, it aims to do that next weekend.
Yeah, and early when the show began, we had the opportunity of having Stacey on to talk about Feed Our Future Cayman, and it was amazing that despite the amount of exposure that Feed Our Future Cayman has gotten, that there were people out there who could benefit from it but didn't know anything about it, and we were able to connect some people with her, those who were having difficulties providing uniforms for their children, or meals, breakfast in particular. And we know how important breakfast is to a kid. You don't want a kid to be feeling hungry while they're sitting in a classroom. That certainly doesn't help, isn't a conducive learning environment to be in, that. So we were fortunate to have her on as well.
And the aim of the ride is actually to be able to collect funds and raise enough funds to provide 1,000 meals for the kids. So it's $5 a meal, so we're aiming to raise $5,000 from the registration fees of the ride, but also an amazing commemorative edition cycling jersey that was designed specifically for the ride. And we also want to thank the sponsors that have gotten involved. I made 2 or 3 phone calls, and everybody was on board. They felt it was a great idea. So I want to thank Gene Thompson from Health City Cayman, Pepsi, Mike's Ice, Crichton Properties, Restaurante Papagayo, Aquafina, Jake Scott, Cayman Bay, Island Supply, and Burger King.
And of course, I just plug in CAL Beverage Center, Mr. David Dimon, as well as a donation from Logic.
Mm-hmm. It is amazing. People complain, and sometimes some of our corporate citizens, they get a bad name. sometimes they get a good review, a resounding review from people in terms of their community involvement. But it is amazing the type of the positive response that you receive from the corporate sector when a charitable event is being put on, and it is being put on to benefit an obvious or to address an obvious need in Cayman society.
And there was really, everyone just jumped on board. OC, and you as a member of the Cycling Association know how important it is for us to have an altruistic view and philanthropic view. We are here, as you said initially when you opened the show, we are brothers keepers, and this is a prime example of people who are doing this purely for no benefit other than to help and to be involved with the social issues of our country. And if we don't do this, no one else will. And the cycling community is one it's not large. We don't have huge budgets, but we have committed people that love the sport, and especially love the sport when we actually can give back to this wonderful country that we have.
Yeah, and of course I did send BBM out to the Daybreakers group, advising them that you guys would be on this morning. I haven't seen anyone responded yet. I don't want to have to call them out on the radio this morning by name, so I've encouraged them to call in at some point. We want to talk about road safety as well, something that's a big issue, a concern not only of cyclists but of motorists as well, and how we can develop that understanding between cyclists and motorists, and the understanding of being able to share the road as well. So we're looking to have them.
Yeah.
Craig, the Cycling Association itself. Let's talk about that and its inception here in the Cayman Islands. We know, one of the two names that are synonymous with cycling in the Cayman Islands, in addition to you and Perry, because when you talk about cycling, everyone says, does Craig still ride? Does Perry ride? Because everyone knows about you from your Olympic
Yes.
days. But also Boba Nunes, who was instrumental in establishing the Cycling Association in the Cayman Islands, as well as Mr. Ted Gray, who did a lot of training and brought a lot of our prominent riders like a Michelle Smith and a Craig Marin and a Perry Marin, even Wade Tomasa, and Wade didn't compete in his younger days internationally, but in his older age, he's now proving himself.
Finding his legs.
Yes,
Yes.
finding his legs now. Yes.
Yeah, Mr. Nunes was very instrumental in bringing cycling to Cayman, and that started, I think, in the early 80s. And his knowledge of cycling date back from the 60s to develop cycling with old friends, and which was established in early 70s, the Jamaican Cycling Federation. And by that time, and I think it was at the 72 Munich Games, that's where they met Mr. Gray. And of course, then he helped out a few Jamaican cyclists at the time, and became good friends and established a long-time relationship that where Mr. Nunes had local ties to Cayman back and forth as a retired lawyer, and his mom lived here, and he's the grandson of Commissioner Hutchinson as well.
Okay.
So there's a lot of history there on Mr. Nunes, and we like to say that cycling was started over a gallon of paint. He went into Uncle Bill's on Edward Street around 801 and met William. Was buying some paint for his place, and saw William selling back in those days Vista bicycles, Vista and I think it was Vista and Haffa bikes and AMF bikes back in those days, and a relationship started there, and cycling came up on the topic, and the discussion started, and the association was started 33 years ago.
Great.
And it's actually with Mr. Linford Pearson actually was one of the founding members.
Yep, and he's one of the signatories on our memos and articles of association.
Yes.
Mr. Robert Nunes, Mr. Linford Pearson, and Mr. John Fleming. Folks, I want to remind you that you're listening to For the Record. I'm your host, Orrit Connor. My guest in the studio with me this morning, we have the president of the Cayman Islands Cycling Association, Mr. Craig Marin. We also have with us Mr. Raul Nicholson Coe, who is the treasurer of the Cayman Islands Cycling Association and also has a close affiliation with Feeder Future Cayman. Please stay tuned. We will be back shortly. Good morning and welcome back to For the Record, where I'm your host, Orrit Connor, and my guest in the studio with me this morning, Mr. Raul Nicholson Coe, who is the treasurer for the Cayman Islands Cycling Association and also affiliated with the Feeder Future Cayman, and Mr. Craig Merrin, who's the president of the Cayman Islands Cycling Association. We're here to talk about, to discuss the Feeder Future Century Ride, which will take place on the 26th of April of this month. It will commence at the public beach, and we will tell you more about that, and we will tell you about the various options that cyclists will have. We want to encourage as many persons to come out and support this venture. We want to also appeal to our corporate entities. If you want to get teams together to do so as well. We know that there are lots of cyclists on the road. We have the Daybreaker Cycling Club. We have Jerome Amelie's group that leaves Hurley's on 7 o'clock on a Sunday morning. We have some offshoots from the Daybreakers groups now. We have Bonnie's group, Bonnie Hurlston's group that go out in the mornings, as well. We have the Filipinos who have a group, and they're always extremely supportive of events as well. So we have enough cyclists. We want to make this a huge race, similar to when we had the point-to-point race from Northwest Point, the Turtle Farm, to Rum Point in North Side. So we want to get as many cyclists out, as possible, for this event. Before we go back to that, though, let's talk a little bit more, because we want to familiarize our listening audience with cycling in the Cayman Islands, get them to to understand how cycling started in the Cayman Islands as a recreational sport, as opposed to cycling in general. Because in my early days, in my youthful days, a bicycle was a luxury.
Yes.
It was a luxury. I had to wait. My father used to have a old Raleigh 28 man's bike, and whenever he was home from sea, he would ride the bike around. Whenever he left to go to sea, he'd take that bike and put it up in the ceiling. And I dare not take that bicycle down from the ceiling while he was gone and ride it.
Would it happen to still be there? 'Cause
Unfortunately, I have some old ones, but not that
you're a
old.
big collector.
I have some old ones, but not that old. And I had to rely on my sister, Anis, or Judith. We call her Take. I had to rely on them for hand-me-down bicycles. Whenever they decided they were going to get a new bike, then I'd get theirs, scrape the frame, sandpaper it down, and paint it, as well. So it was a luxury in those days. And the men, when they came home from sea, was only in the what would we say, late 60s, that you actually had men coming back from sea who were able to buy automobiles, cars, and start driving. But everyone was proud to have the bicycles with the streamers and the wrap on them and stuff like that. You buy them from Mr. Ashford pattern, So cycling, goes along with, maybe not as popular as the Chinese, but
Rudge and Raleigh was the main bikes in Cayman in the 40s and 50s. The Merrin's Farm Live, actually, when they had the Merrin store, was the distributor for Raleigh and Rudge, and they were very popular then. And for the record, I don't know if many listeners know that me and Mr. O.C.'s cousins. Yes. O.C. had to call my grandfather, Mr. Charles Clarence Ebanks, better known as Mr. Boyer, uncle. So my grandfather used to tell me that he was a bad rider in his days on his old Rudge.
So that's where I got it.
So yeah, and yeah, and me and Para as well. So the thing with cycling for me and Para, I think Para kind of followed me. I wasn't really good at no other sport. Cycling is all I ever knew, and I used to, from a very young boy growing up on Walker's Road, we used to. I had my father heavy equipment. We just call it, we go into the shade. And that's why I had all of my parts and bits and pieces I collected over the years. So if someone were fixing a bike, I never threw away anything. I kept everything. And up till to this day, I got parts sitting that's over 30 years old. That's my big collection I got stocked away. You guys see now and then when you come, you see some of my old bicycle license plate. You remember you had license plates and stuff?
Yes, yeah.
I got old derailleurs home. I got old cranks from came out of Comart, Wilco's we called it in town, when Wilco's was a supermarket in town that sell Raleigh parts. So I still have a big collection of those stuff that, keep the memory alive. But I started because it's one sport that I liked at the time. It really wasn't developed, wasn't no association. So we raced on Walker's Road. And I think for any cyclist that you see today, especially like the Tour de France basically started off, and many races in Europe started off by, youngsters just racing on the road. People thought, well, let's race a mile, let's race 2 miles. And over the time that it developed, in many sports, you'll talk about the old timers from Italy, France, and the European countries developed the sport based on just having a playful childhood, and basically that's how we saw it here. So we used to ride the Playboys in those days, what we call BMX, and made our own races and back roads on by Smith Barcadere through South Sound, just made through the dikes. And we used to race those bikes in those days, but like I said, it wasn't road bikes until the association was formed. Then we all pulled together, going by Uncle Bill's and buying parts, and that's where we met Mr. Nunes and William and stuff. And the association was formed through that. And I've been a member since I was 14 years old.
Okay, and when we look at the memos and articles of association of the Cayman Islands Cycling Association, they were actually signed on the 7th of July 1982, and like we mentioned earlier, it was Mr. Linford Pearson, Mr. Bobby Robert H. Nunes, and John Fleming as well. Now there was another gentleman who was involved in training and coaching. He was here recently?
Yeah, he was here ago. That was Mr. John Reed.
John Reed,
John
yes,
and Caroline
yes,
Reed spent a lot of time with cycling. John was very passionate about it, and John became the race director, race manager as well. So John basically helped about after 5 or 6 years when the association was formed to help kind of lift the race scenes by finding sponsors like Jake Scott. We had the Milo Classic race back in 1986. We also had one afterwards, was basically organized by David Dibben and Peter Larda, called the Hydrologic Tour back in 1991. I think you remember that.
Along with, what's his name from the Richard, from the Water Authority?
Yeah, Mr. Richard
Beswick.
Richard Beswick at the time was the head of the Water Authority. And he was very good friends with Perry, because Perry and Richard Pascal worked with the Water Authority. So, he wanted to give something back for cycling. He had a keen interest in Perry ability as well as Richard Pascal. So he, came aboard. So and he started to ride as well. So you'll be surprised how sometimes how people passion and personality could touch other people that didn't have an interest.
And we should never forget the impact that Beatman Ebanks had on cycling in the Cayman Islands as well. He was the face of cycling on the roads of Cayman as well.
No, definitely. Growing up, I used to hear the name of Beatman Ebanks, Alfred and Louis Ebanks from West Bay, of course. You had Bigger, who used to ride, Allison Whitaker.
Whitaker, yeah.
Your friend Brenda Barnes,
yes.
And your friend there, Solomon.
Delano
Solomon.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
these
So
are the
still got it. He still has his bike. If he's listening, get it out.
So these are the as well as Mr. Eldon Rankin. So the days when they used to have bikeathons, Lions Club used to have bikeathons from East End all the way to Georgetown. Finish at the high school was the big event, and I remember as a little boy going out and watching these guys. And I met Beatman in Brown about 81 when the association was formed, and we had a tight bond. He knew who I was, but I didn't really get to know him didn't know him that well until Cycling Fuller started, and he supported me and Perry, bought us bike parts and clothing and shoes, etc., and he was a dear friend, and I really miss him a lot.
Great. Folks, I want to remind you that you've been listening to For the Record. I'm your host, Dorrit Connor, and my guest in the studio with me this morning, we have Mr. Craig Merrin, who's the president of the Cayman Islands Cycling Association, and we also have Mr. Raul Nicholson Co., who is the treasurer of the Cayman Islands Cycling Association, but he is also affiliated with Feeder Future Cayman. And we're here primarily to talk about Feeder Future Cayman, their central ride that they're putting on the 26th of this month, starting at the public beach. Now, you haven't heard a whole lot from Mr. Raul Nicholson Co yet, but after we go to our news in a few minutes, when we come back, we will be talking specifically about the event. We will talk some more about the sponsors. We will talk about the course, the course, and how you can get involved. And you need not necessarily have to have the ability to ride 100 miles. You can get a team together and do 20-mile stretches, or if you want to do shorter than that, you can do that as well. But this is an event to make it enjoyable for you, to benefit you health-wise, but also to benefit the more vulnerable in our society by supporting Feeder Future Cayman. We're going to go to a news break now. We ask you to please stay tuned because we have lots to talk about, and we invite your calls and your support on For the Record. Please stay tuned. We will be back after the news. Good morning and welcome back to For the Record, where I'm your host, Dorit Connor, and my guest in the studio with me this morning, we have representing the Cayman Islands Cycling Association, Mr. Craig Marin, the president of this association. We also have in the studio with us Mr. Raul Nicholson Co, who is a member of the Cayman Islands Cycling Association's executive. He is the treasurer. He's also affiliated with Feeder Future Cayman, and we're here talking about the Feeder Future Central Ride 2015. I also want to remind you that For the Record is brought to you by LED, Lighting, Engineering, and Design. They are located on Dorset Drive in Industrial Park. You should visit them. They have many energy-saving items in the store. If you, like I said, if you want your electric bills to be as low as Miss Georgette's, then check LED out because they can help you to save on your energy bills. Now, we're going to go back and start to talk more about this event. Like I said, we have Mr. Raul Nicholson Co, who's here with us. Raul is not so much a road cyclist as he is an off-road cyclist, and we'll let him tell you about his exploits in that area. But he's also one of the driving forces behind this Central Ride. So Raul, we're going to hand over to you and let you do some of the talking now.
Well, actually, I'm not a good cyclist at all, and my good friend Craig always said, Raul, you always look like a cyclist, but you're not a cyclist. So I always looked the part. I had all the nice gear, the nice bikes, but I was never a really good cyclist. But bicycling, I actually got an appreciation of the dedication and just the sheer amazing physical ability of cyclists. So if you think about when you're riding and you're trying to maintain 26 miles an hour, and then you look at the Tour de France and guys are riding for over 100 miles and their average speed is over 25 miles an hour, the ability for someone to be able to do that, while there have been a lot of controversy, I know, surrounding Tour de France and professional cycling, I think cycling is one of the most amazing sports when it comes from a physical perspective. So I've been involved with cycling for quite a while. In fact, that's how I met Craig, because I was always intrigued by cyclists. And when I met him maybe 20 years ago, that was my first question. Oh, by the way, I have a bike. What do you think I should do to the bike to make it better and make me a better cyclist? That actually never happened. So I actually decided to move to more less strenuous cycling. I decided to move to off-road cycling, and it's actually amazing because I've got this new mountain bike full of carbon fiber, and we ride off roads, but where we ride it's untouched virgin property in Cayman. So we go in the dikes, we go up along Barkers. It's unbelievably beautiful. But when I got involved with cycling 2 years ago with the executive, I thought cycling in its heyday was very popular. I know we've been overshadowed by all the newer sports and kids getting involved with these things, but cycling still does play a role. I think your historical perspective was great, because cycling in Cayman maybe in the 50s and 60s was strictly utilitarian. It wasn't seen as a as something that you use for exercise. It was to go to the store, transportation, and now cycling is extremely good. It's good on your joints. It's, you know, for as you get older, it's much better to keep in shape by cycling or other sports. But when I saw this opportunity and knowing Stacey Vandervelde from Feeder Future, I thought to myself, you know, Craig, perhaps we have a dedicated group of cyclists who are all who love Cayman and want to see Cayman continue in its current path. Why not speak to Stacey and find out whether we could partner with them and do something to benefit their fundraising efforts. And we want to make this an annual event, but in looking at the Central Ride, it's a very daunting task. I mean, 100 miles is not a short distance. And when we were discussing it, I actually thought, while some of the board members, including yourself, who, you know, rides, you'll put in maybe at 200 miles a week, I think. Is that correct?
At least 200.
At
yes.
least 200,
Yes,
exactly. So you're 200 miles more than I am, and Craig as well. So I thought, how can we make this more appealing and not make it so daunting for the average cyclist like myself, and even a 3-time Olympian like Craig Merrin? So I thought, why not make it a team event? And so in order to broaden the appeal, we have an event where we can have 5 riders riding up to 20 miles, and so it's much broader. Lots of people will be able to see the benefits of it and won't be daunted by it. So in essence, what we have, OC, we have a ride that will start at Papagayo. It will actually move around to Grand Cayman, and we've just had our Premier has just walked in, who is also an extremely avid cyclist as well. Welcome, Honourable Premier Alden McLaughlin. Thank you very much for coming.
Yeah, he's our surprise guest.
Good morning. Glad to be here.
Oh, excellent.
On the way to the house, but I couldn't miss this.
Wonderful. I mean, our Honourable Premier is an avid cyclist, and one that obviously trumps both Craig and I. And the funny thing is, 3 weeks ago we were at an event and we were talking about cycling, and he's obviously enthusiastic as I was. He said, "Do you remember the first time you bought me my first cycling shorts?" And I said, "Yeah, I do remember. That was
Shoes,
like 20
shoes.
shoes. It was shoes. It was shoes in Miami." And I said, "Yeah, that was a long time ago. It was maybe 20 years ago." So
No, not that long.
it felt like that long.
To make me older than I am.
But thanks so much. I assume you'll be riding, Mr. Premier.
Yes, I'm looking forward to it. It's been a little while since I did a century, but
Okay.
OC and I did 80 last Sunday, so I think I'll make it. And the trip to Cuba.
Cuba helped, yes?
Yeah. The old legs, I think the muscles still remember.
Okay, that's wonderful. Well, thanks so much, Mr. Premier, for your support of this event. And
Definitely.
So, Raul, it's good to emphasize to our listening audience also that it is not a race. It is not a race at all. We know that there are, some pumped up cyclists out there where, the testosterone is flowing, and even the women as well. They're, are quite competitive, but it is not a race. It is, it's going to be a controlled ride, where safety issues will be addressed as well. We'll probably have a lead vehicle. I'm sure that the police
Yes.
will be lending their support in terms of safety and everything else too, Raul.
yes, absolutely. I mean, it is a ride, and it is to encourage people to use the road safely. We also have there water stops, there are tents throughout the route, so it isn't a race by any means. So it's going to be a really communal ride. We're going to have people with different abilities, and so we don't want anybody to feel left out. And we'll have safety riders, safety vehicles, safety riders. The Red Cross is involved. We have other sponsors as well who are going to help, including Feeder Future volunteers. So along the route there'll be water stops where we can actually rest stops as well. So the main rest stop will be in Frankstown, and we'll have tents there where people can sit, relax, have a drink, or refresh themselves and dehydrate themselves, and then start the second leg of the ride. So it certainly should not be a daunting task for even the recreational cyclist.
Okay. Let's talk about the route itself. I think earlier I may have said that it starts at the public beach. That was one of the initial
Yes.
intentions, but that has changed.
That has changed. The actual route started our one of a major sponsor, Restaurante Papagallo, and thanks to Vico for coming back again and helping us. We started at his restaurant in West Bay. Start and finish there, so it starts exactly at 5:15 a.m. in the morning, so we don't get burned up in the sun because it's going to take about 5.5 to 6 hours. As Raul mentioned, it's not a race. It's a easygoing ride between 15 and 18 miles an hour. It will be controlled by scouts, people like yourself, people like Michelle Smith, Para Marin, Mr. Premier here, and
Edward Harper.
And many of the other local riders they'll just be scouting the pace and keeping the tempo down, and that's why we designed it as Raul said, doing 20 miles and 50 miles. So they can find I want to plug in and say that you can get this information on our Facebook, Cayman Cycling, or the website Cayman Cycling, cicycling.com. I think it is.
Yes, cycling.com.
And you can register at caymanactive.com. So you can do the registration online. You can actually pay your fees online. You can order the T-shirt, the jersey, which is a commemorative jersey, and pay for it online. And we also have a collection on the 25th at Cayman Bay, beginning at 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. It's right beside the Audi dealer in Cayman Bay. We'll have a store there where you can go in, our storefront there where you can go in, collect your race bags, your bands. Because for the registration fee of $20 or the jersey for $65, all meals will be provided at the end. Refreshments are provided during the race, so it's all free for you. I keep saying race. I can't even race. I don't.
Let's talk some more about those jerseys, because cyclists are big when it comes to jerseys and their designs. And then we have, in our group, we have you would probably remember this expression in Bicycling magazine. They have a column called Style Guys. Well, our two style guys in our group, Wade Tomasa, when he comes out, everything has to match. Socks, jersey, shorts, everything has to match with the bicycle, helmet, sweatband, and everything. And of course, the gentleman sitting next to you, another style guy, the Premier. Everything has to match. So let's talk about those jerseys so that they can make sure now that they got the right color shoes and the right color socks to go with those jerseys.
I can't compete with Wayne. Wade, I mean.
Yeah, the Feeder Future jersey was designed by Daniel Cummings, and it basically encompasses the branding design for Feeder Future. So there's an apple, two apples, but the color scheme is quite weird. So you have orange, red, so white. So Mr. Premier, you can wear your white shoes, your red shoes, your orange shoes, and wear it.
Absolutely gorgeous jersey.
It is an amazing looking jersey, and it's something that I wish we had actually bought more. We only brought a limited edition, so there's only 25 jerseys that were made, varying sizes. But next year, hopefully, we'll bring a lot more. And
well, there's actually more than 25, so I did.
125,
yeah, but they're going very fast. Right. I think we're close to 70 already sold.
Wow.
So they're going fast, and a lot of people have actually that not riding actually like to collect jerseys as well. So we're getting some feedback from other countries that collect jerseys. It's collecting jerseys is a big thing now. It's a huge thing internationally actually. So people like to collect them just to collect them because it's only.
I have an old jersey when the old Soviet Union was in place.
Yes, very rare.
I still have that jersey. The Soviet Union jersey. Yeah.
So I mean, but if anyone wants to find out more about the ride, they can either call myself, or Craig Marin. My number is 516-5365. Craig, what's your?
My number is 938-7827, or you could also email us at info@caymancycling.com. That's info@caymancycling.com. We're on a Facebook page. I know plenty of people on Facebook page today, so you can also send us a message there.
It's an excellent cause, and cycling is a great sport, and it's the way this has been designed. Even if you can't ride the 100 miles, it's still perfectly fine. You can come out and do some of the shorter legs, and I'm sure that was done that way, but just to accommodate Raul and
Well, Raul
and
actually
Craig.
designed it for Craig.
You see, Mr. Premier, you really do have a sense of humor. The funny thing is, when this was designed, I was emailing Craig and I said, Craig, I've always joking with Craig. He said he's a 3-time Olympic cyclist. So I always said this.
That was a long time ago,
Yeah,
though.
I know, but that's what I said. I said this 20 miles.
My children weren't born then.
I said the race was actually
I
designed
remember
for.
that.
I said the 20 mile was actually designed for so-called Olympic, 3-time Olympic cyclists. He had the biggest laugh about it. So yes, it was actually created for persons like myself, Mr. Premier, because the fact is 100 miles, I don't think I could drive 100 miles at this stage. So 20 miles is much more in my comfort zone, and I think a lot more people.
A lot
as well.
of people can do
yeah.
it. And I would never advise anybody to do, if they can't make it, to do what Craig does or has done. I remember once in the very early days of my cycling, Craig used to challenge me all the time because he's a former Olympic cyclist, and I was struggling. I was about 25, 30 pounds overweight, trying to get in some kind of shape. And so Craig always used to challenge me and say, "Oh, he could beat," because he wasn't riding, but he could just come out at any time and beat me. So there was this ride from
Kiwanis, I think.
I think it was a Kiwanis bike, right?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah, it was.
I was determined, and anyone who knows me knows that I'm a little bit determined. So I was determined that Craig was not going to get down to spin back of the area ahead of me. So
To whip you.
So I am struggling, riding as hard as I can, and I say, "We breakers now," and I say, "Yeah, he not get me now. He not gonna get me." So I go in. When I get down along the road, I see Craig. I say, "But how did Craig get all the way down here? As far as I know, he's behind me." You know what Craig did? He hooked on to a van that was passing. He held on to the van
On the opposite side.
on
so
the
I didn't
opposite
see-
side, so I couldn't see him. And that's how he got ahead of me.
Folks, you heard it here on For the Record, and when you hear
So
it
I
on
would
For the
advise
Record,
anybody to do that. That's not safe. That's not an example of safe cycling.
Or to race
Folks.
against Craig.
folks, you heard it here on For the Record, and if you hear it on here on For the Record, it is on the record. Now, please stay tuned. We're going to take a quick break, and we will be back shortly. Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. I'm your host, Dorrit Connor, and we're not talking politics this morning. We're talking about cycling. We're talking about contributing to a worthy cause, Feed Our Future Cayman. And in the studio, we have with us this morning the president of the Cayman Islands Cycling Association. The association is heavily involved in the Feed Our Future Central Ride 2015, Feed Our Future Cayman. We also have Mr. Raul Nicholson Coe, who is the treasurer of the Cayman Islands Cycling Association and one of the organizers of the Feed Our Future Cayman Central Ride. We also have a guest appearance in our studio from the Honorable Premier, who is also a cyclist and also will be participating in the Feed Our Future cycling race on the 26th of April of this year.
The cycling ride.
Ride, yes. Race, I need to emphasize. Not a race. We know that some people are going to turn it into a race, but for the benefit of those of you who just want to come out there and have a nice ride, there will be lots of support. We're like the U.S. Marine. We leave no one behind. So there
Thank
will
you.
always be someone there to ride with you, to assist you, because safety is going to be important as well, and to ensure that you can, complete the distance that you want to ride. So there will always be someone there assisting you with that. We want a huge turnout for this ride. We want to show the people of the Cayman Islands how we support the more vulnerable and the needy in our society, our young children, our primary age school children as well. So again, I'm going to go back to Raul and ask him to talk some more about it. We will talk about the registration fee. We will talk about the cycling jersey, the cost, and when you hear about it, in cycling parlance and in the cycling world, it is not unusual for you to pay $200, 200 and odd bucks for a pair of shorts. They last you a lifetime, and they certainly makes life easier on your derriere, as well. When it comes to cycling jerseys, you want to get cycling jerseys. Not unusual, $75 median price. Real good ones over $100 because they wicker. They help to cool your body down when you use the perspiration from your body to cool your body down as well. So the prices that we're talking about here are not really expensive when you're talking.
Not at all. The jerseys can cost a lot more than that. I picked one up in a store in Miami, which shall remain nameless, because it was so beautiful. And I looked at it, and I saw the price. I dropped it like it was on fire because it was $210 US.
But as Craig said also, they become a collector's item as well. And, of course, as a cyclist, you only want to wear the jersey if you have ridden the ride, as well. You have to experience the ride, and that's when you want to wear the jersey, because when someone sees it, then you can tell them exactly, what it's about.
And to do the whole ride, not hold on to a van and get help along the way.
Yes. That will not be permitted. So, let's talk some more about the jerseys, the registration, the fees, and the progress that we've made.
Well,
so far.
OC, I think you touched on a very good point. The reason for this ride is, twofold. Is to create greater awareness of cycling in Cayman and the benefits of cycling from a recreational and also a physical well-being perspective, but also by partnering with Feed Our Future, we wanted actually to highlight some of the more vulnerable within our society as well, and what we are doing as a cycling community to help them, because there are kids that go to school most days that don't have a meal, and we feel that it's very important to support an initiative like this, because if we don't take care of our youth, we then for not taking care of our future. And what the Cycling Association is seeking to do is to actually raise funds, $5,000, which is equivalent to about 1,000 meals for students within the primary school system. But we also have to thank our sponsors as well. So Health City Cayman, Pepsi, Mike's Ice, Crichton Properties, Restaurante Papagayo, Aquafina, Jake Scott, Cayman Bay, Island Supply, Burger King, who have all chipped in.
CL Beverages.
CL Beverages as well, who has stepped in to help us to make this a success. The registration fee, like you said, is only $20. So if you don't want one of the commemorative jerseys, it's only $20, which will include food, refreshments,
throughout the event,
throughout the entire ride.
Right. So all of the stops, all of the rest stops, there will be water and food.
Free water and food, and obviously dehydration, liquid fluids as well. So Gatorade is provided by Progressive Distributors, are actually providing that as well. So we have a number of great corporate citizens involved, someone that that remain nameless, that prefer to just give stuff from an altruistic perspective without gaining any branding benefit from it. So, and the jerseys are $65. You guys know cycling can be an expensive sport, but for $65 you're getting an exceptional jersey, a commemorative jersey, and most of that money will be donated back to Feed Our Future. So it is something that I feel very passionate about, and it's something that I continue to support. But personally, I think Feed Our Future is one of the better run charities, because the benefits are seen immediately. And if you look at the way Feed Our Future is run, a very 99.99% of funds collected are given back to the kids, which is exactly
it's not lost in administrative costs and so.
Exactly, and that is the key. And the Cycling Association, registered in 1992. We are a not-for-profit organization as well from 1982. So we don't make anything that we do is purely for the benefit to promote cycling, to promote the well-being of our Caymanian cyclists. So this is like the perfect match. There's so many synergies with Feed Our Future as well as cycling.
We have one caller online. Let's take that caller now. Caller, good morning and welcome to For the Record.
Hi, good morning, OC. Good morning, Gaff.
Good morning. Good morning.
I'm enjoying your talk this morning about cycling.
Thank you.
And I mean, whenever I see the cyclers coming, I grab out my camera and take some pictures and stuff like that. and just cheer them on. I just
I
want
think I
to
know who this
say-
is. Yeah, the camera lady.
But yeah, I just want to say to the listening audience and that motorists have to be extra careful. When these events are going on. I mean, sometimes I see people just speeding by, and I sometimes I go and watch the triathlons and stuff like that when people are running and riding their bikes and stuff, and cars are cutting in front of them and stuff, and it's like you cringe because you think these guys are pedaling 60 miles an hour or whatever, and and cars are overtaking them and going in between them and stuff like that. So I just want to appeal to the listening audience, that next Sunday morning when this cycling is going on, just to be careful on the road. And then, not only is the cycling going on, but the DG's walk is going to be taking place next Sunday morning, for the Special Olympics.
That's correct.
Yes. We have to be, our brother's keeper, when we're on the road and stuff like that. And, I mean, tomorrow, again, when you have so many people on the road for the roadside cleanup. I mean, all of these are such worthy causes. So I just want to appeal to motorists that, on the road to just be on the lookout for people. Like tomorrow, my team, the West Bay CERT team, will be on Fountain Road, cleaning. So you're there, you're going on the barbed wire fences and stuff and coming back out with bags of garbage and stuff. So I just want to ask, the motorists to be extremely careful with people tomorrow cleaning up the road, next Sunday morning with the cyclists and with the DG's walkathon and stuff that is going on. I mean,
Yeah.
the groups are coming together for the betterment of the Cayman Islands, and I think, it's a shame that people get hurt, trying to do good because people are not paying attention while they're driving on the road and stuff like that. So
Exactly. If I can make one suggestion to you too with the road cleanup, if you find that you're going to be in one spot for any length of time and it is near the side of the road, if you can get one or two of those traffic cones that you could put in the area to ensure that the traffic goes wide, the vehicles go wide, that would be helpful as well if you could get a couple of those.
Right. Yes, I'm going to try to get those for tomorrow morning. Like I said, but all through the island tomorrow, people are going to be cleaning, roadside, and I just want to appeal to the motorists to be extremely careful, and I wish you all the very best. Because I'm doing the DG's walk. I can't come to your cycling, but I will support it.
Thank you very much.
'cause
Thank you very
I'm
much. You
on-
have a
I'm on
great
it.
weekend and enjoy yourself as well, and hope your events go well. We have another caller online. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning, Miss
Morning.
Daphne. How are you?
It sounds like you're having a good time in that studio.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes,
we
ma'am.
are, yeah.
You're talking cycling, eh? Well, kind of reminds me when I was much younger. There was a stretch, this really straight stretch across where we lived in Northwest Point in West Bay. So I am telling you, when we saw the guys and the gals decided we were going to take a race down that straight piece all way up from, we called it Jim Raid's turn, all the way down to Northwest Point. And it was just a whole lot of fun. But I can tell you, when I see you guys on the road, it's like, wow. It brings back the memories. And I'm thinking, these guys are having fun. And it's a kind of sport that I really think is, it's not only beneficial, but I hope that you guys will be able to continue this for as long as you possibly can. Like anything else, you stay with it, and you probably ride until you're 100, which I think most of you are capable of doing, Lord willing.
Some of us are nearly there.
Oh, don't
You can
don't
tell by
hurry.
the gray hairs.
I said, don't hurry it up now. Don't hurry that 100 up. But don't worry about aging there. I can give you a tip.
You're never too old to join the cycling association, ma'am.
No, well, I'll tell you what. the thought came to me this morning. I said, "Wow, would not be something." And Suki with her big dress on that type of going up. Anyway, I'll leave you guys alone. You're having fun, and I hope that you'll find great success in what you're trying to achieve here. God bless you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
God bless you.
OC, before we move on to something else, I just want to put in a plug for the Earth Day cleanup tomorrow, and to urge as many people as possible to go out and help with that. It's I think very, very important thing. We've been doing it for many years, and we usually have a lot of participation, and I think it's a really good exercise. Not just do we clean up the road, but I think we create awareness about how important it is not to litter when you see how many things that you have to pick up. The other thing is that I'm double booked. I'm supposed to be doing the DJ's walk as well, so I'm not sure how I'm gonna manage this. But
hold on to the car and catch us at one of the 20s.
It's likely that the ride will probably win out as far as the competition is concerned for that. But I'd signed up for that before I really was aware that the Feed Our Future ride was at the same time. But I think everyone knows where my heart is when it comes to.
Yeah,
to
we
sport.
always try to ensure that we don't have conflict with other events, so that each event can get as much support as possible. But
Well, we do have for the first part of the year, for the first first 2 quarters of every year, it's always a busy time for many activities, and I think it's because of traditionally in Cayman, a lot of people go away for summer. Schools is out, and it's much harder back in July, August. And then, of course, you roll into the height of the hurricane season for Cayman, which is September. So I think traditionally a lot of people try to have the events between March, April, and May, and that's where everybody just try to,
Right.
yeah, let's
So
talk
we
about
talk
the love-hate relationship that cyclists and motorists have, and the efforts that the Cayman Islands Cycling Association will be making to ensure that there's better interaction between motorists and cyclists. We cyclists have to recognize, and we emphasize it in our groups, and I know that other groups emphasize it as well, that we have to share the road. So we try to ride not even 2 abreast, but 1 abreast, so we get a long pace line. Sometimes people will deviate from that and ride 2 abreast, and we try not to encourage that. At the same time, we need motorists to understand that you have to share the roads. The roads are not the exclusive property, for vehicles, for cars or trucks. So we have to share the road. Those of us who are cyclists and are also motorists appreciate when we see a cyclist on the road. We ensure that we go wide. If there's oncoming traffic, then you stay behind the cyclist until you can at least use that 3 foot, the 3 feet
3 feet.
rule
We call it a 3
to
foot
stay
rule.
wide. Yeah.
Yes.
Some motorists don't do that, and they simply come as close as they possibly can to you, not realizing, the trauma that they're creating, just scaring the life out of you, and running the risk of hitting you as well, or you forcing you off the road. And Craig, you have that video there,
Yes, I
somewhere
sure
in
do.
Europe, where a
Yes.
guy was hit by, he had a rear camera attached to his bike, and he was hit by a vehicle. It's amazing. I keep emphasizing that in the Cayman Islands, where are we in a rush to go? Does it take a few seconds for you if you're going around a corner just to ease up to ensure that it is clear, or if you see traffic coming in the opposite direction, just to ease up behind the rider until you can go wide enough to ensure that you don't startle the rider?
Well, just recently, I think about last week, someone sent me a link that was recorded by a local rider who was riding early in the morning, and a bus in front of one of the hotels on 7 Mile Beach pulled right in front of him. They was pulling off. I just think is a lack of judgment. The rider was very reflective with his lights and stuff. I think it was early in the morning, if I remember the video correctly. And the bus pulled right in front of him as he were riding, and he had to jam brakes. If not, he would have hit it on the left-hand side of the bus. And he pulled up with the camera on. I don't think the driver realized that he had on a camera, and no apology, nothing, and basically just drove off. Now I hope that the gentleman, well, it was on the news, so I hope he got the license plate number and reported the bus driver. But this is a major concern, not out through Cayman, but worldwide.
Yes.
And there's different campaigns that is put together, especially in the U.S. and Europe, called the 3-foot rule. The 3-foot rule is basically saying, hey, you got to be at least 3 foot away from the cyclist. Now, it makes it very difficult in Cayman based on our roads. Some roads, the newer roads, are much wider. I know we got cycling lanes as well.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes the judgment of the driver, especially if we drive on the left, and if you got a right-hand drive vehicle, I know sometimes it's difficult for right-hand vehicles to judge the cyclist which is on their left hand side. So sometimes they come too close because they feel they don't want to go on the white lane. But it varies a lot in the roads in Cayman. But like what you say, if drivers feel that they can't judge as they're approaching riders, that they have to just stay back. But this is a campaign that need to happen, not just through the Cycling Association. And we've talked about this on many occasions by having the Cycling Association, along with the Athletic Association, the Triathlon Association, the police, and the Road Commission. I think we have someone that deals with the roads, National Roads Authority, as a campaign, along with one of the charity clubs, to have a campaign that lasts at least 3 months. It can't be 1 month. You got to be 3 months with leaflets, on the radio, talk shows, demos with cameras to basically give knowledge of the type of ruling that have to be applied.
Okay, we have a couple of callers online, and we're going to try to accommodate them before we go to the headline news at 9 o'clock. So we're going to ask those callers to be as brief as possible because we want to fit both of them in within a 4-minute span. First caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Ma'am, this is Brother John Jefferson.
Morning, Brother John. How are you? Haven't heard from you in a while.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir.
Hope you're doing well.
Good. Yes, God's been good to me. I'm recalling in relation to the case on Sunday. You understand why I'm calling?
I'm listening. Go right ahead, sir.
Yeah, I said the cyclist case there on Sunday is also a case where we are beginning to lessen the how should I say, lessen the, remember in this land of ours, Sunday is always a very day that's been set aside for with our people in relation to Sunday, church going and so forth. The day that we set aside to honor God and so forth. And setting this aside as a cyclist day is another sign of where we're lessening the importance of Sunday, and our forefathers would jump over, take over in their grave. When we stop, we are beginning to just lessen the importance of Sunday.
Brother John, I can certainly say that there are many cyclists in our group who come out early on a Sunday morning and go back home while the, others of us stay out on the road, and they go back home because they're going to go to church. They go to church on Sunday. So they're able to fit church in, with their other regular activities. And I, for myself, I can tell you this, usually when I'm cycling, especially alone, there are many times that I'm cycling along and I'm humming a church song like, Amazing Grace or something like that, and I'm humming. So I believe that even on my bike that I can, serve my master and, at the same time.
It still doesn't lessen the irresponsibility in relation to our sacredness in relation to Sunday.
Okay, got you there, Brother John. If you can leave us there, we're going to try to fit one more caller in before we go to the news break. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Good morning, gentlemen. Just want to commend you on the work that you've been doing.
Thanks,
OC.
Edward. Thanks, Edward. And we want to
Yes.
commend you as well. You've joined us here in the Cayman Islands, and you thought you were escaping, cycling administration when you left home, but you jumped right back into it here in the Cayman Islands, and we want to
No,
thank you as
well-
well for your involvement.
And it's always something good to be a part of. And you've touched on so many things, especially the safety on the road, which I realize that is becoming even a greater issue. And it's not just an issue in Cayman; it's one all over the world. And as Craig was mentioning, the awareness is something that everybody needs to be a part of. But aside from that, I know the ride coming up is the Cayman 100, and I just wanted to remind those persons listening that it doesn't matter if you can't ride 100 miles, even if it is that you can ride even a small portion, that they should come out. There are persons who may get intimidated by seeing others on bicycles who they will view as racers or people who are very fit and may decide that it's not worth it. But any piece of the ride that they can join in, I think it will be fun for them just to even ride with a big group of riders and go as far as they can go. And if they can't make it all the way, I'm sure they'll have a good time doing it. So it would be nice to get all of those persons, not just the people who think they can do 100, but even somebody who can do 2 miles, do 10 miles, do 20 miles.
Excellent.
To come out on the day.
Excellent, Edward. We want to thank you for that, but we have to go for a break now, but please feel free to call back and join more in the conversation. We'd love to continue to talk to you, Edward. So do call us back if we would like you to call us back. Folks,
All
I want to
right,
remind
take
you
care.
I want to remind you that you're listening to For the Record. I'm your host, Stuart Connor. My guest in the studio with me this morning, we have the Honorable Premier Alden McLaughlin, who's also a cyclist. We have Mr. Craig Marin, President of the Cayman Islands Cycling Association, and Mr. Raoul Nicholson Cole, who's the Treasurer and closely associated with Feed Our Future Cayman. Please stay tuned. We'll be back shortly. Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. I'm your host, Stuart Connor. My guest in the studio with me this morning, we have the Honorable Premier as our special guest, surprise guest on the show this morning. And we're not talking about politics, we're talking cycling politics maybe, if there is such a thing. We also have the President of the Cayman Islands Cycling Association, Mr. Craig Marin, and we have Mr. Raoul Nicholson Co., who's the Treasurer of the Cayman Islands Cycling Association, also closely associated with Feed Our Future Cayman. I want to remind you that our phone lines are still open. You can call us on our toll-free number, which is 1-800-534-8255. You can also call us on 949-8037 or 949-6990. Just before the break, you heard Mr. Edward Harper call in and make his contribution. Edward, new to the Cayman Islands to a certain extent, to the cycling community here, but was certainly involved in a high capacity with the Jamaica Cycling Federation or Association, which is called, and he has immersed himself into our Cayman Islands Cycling Association here to share with his knowledge and his experience as well, and we're extremely grateful for that. Premier, we've talked about the roads of the Cayman Islands, and we know that the first set of cycling lanes to be put in the Cayman Islands was done in your previous administration. Minister Arden McLean was instrumental in doing that. Of course, the rumors on the road were that because the cabinet secretary and the minister for education were cyclists, that's why, and sports, that's why the cycling lanes were put in. That isn't true, but we certainly did some lobbying.
Because the truth be told, there was a powerful lobby going on there.
But we see the continued improvement of Cayman's roads. We know that there's a commitment that any new roads that are built, that they will have cycling lanes. We have seen the DART Corporation also. We have a beautiful stretch, in West Bay.
Yeah, that's extension to that's the Tibbets.
Yes,
that runs down to Bottom Avenue.
That is quite good as well. And I know one morning when we were cycling, I mentioned to you the fact that even on Spot Straight now, which is one of the dangerous roads. And I know on Sunday mornings when we finishing a ride from East End, you always love to come down on that road. I try to discourage you, and I say that road is the most, that's the busiest road, the more traffic on there, 40-mile-an-hour speed limit, but they go 400 miles an hour rather than 40 miles an hour. But work is being done there now, and while we appreciate that they can't put cycling lanes on that road, certainly they can make the verges of the road a little smoother so that you have an outlet that you can ride on, or if you're forced off the road, you don't end up in the bushes.
Yeah, well, and we're contemplating new roads, and in particular the extension to the east-west arterial, from Newlands Junction all the way up to Frank Sound. And one of the discussions that has been going on, and I think we've been very clear about that, Mr. Tibbetts and myself, because it's a lot cheaper to just have 2 lanes, one in either direction, with no biking lanes and so forth. But we have said to those who are doing the design, and we've said to those who are involved in estimating the cost, it is far better for us to spend a few million more, because that's what it's actually going to be, to separate the lanes so that there's all traffic going in one direction, to have biking lanes, and to have proper lighting. Because a stretch of roads 10 miles long that is mostly straight, I really shudder at the prospect in terms of accidents if you don't have the separation of the lanes, and if you don't have the lanes wide enough so that they are actual biking lanes involved. So that we are very conscious of the need to improve from a safety standpoint the roads that we have, and certainly as long as I'm around, I'm going to keep up that lobby.
Mr. Mayor and Craig, the Cycling Association, how can we partner with, let's say, insurance companies, because they have a lot at stake whenever motorists are involved in accidents, with cyclists. I'm not sure about the insurance policies, whether or not bicycles can be insured for riding on the road as opposed to being a household item and insured in your home as a household item. But are there any prospects of us working with other organizations so that we can do public service announcements in relation to road safety? There are many people who use the roads of the Cayman Islands and use cycles on the road, not necessarily for recreational purposes, but as a means of transport to get to work. Some combine the use of it as transport and to stay healthy, at the same time. How will this Cayman Islands Cycling Association involve itself in that endeavor?
Well, it's something that was brought up, I think, some years ago by one of the past members. I wasn't part of the association back then, and I still have some records on that. I think they'd approach one or two of the insurance companies about partnering with them. But that is something that we've been recently speaking about to activate that and to speak to some, not just some, but all, but perhaps partner with one of them that would be a sort of a campaign to road safety with the drivers as well as the cyclists, and do a sort of education campaign, not only with them, but like I said, with the other association as well that use the road not only for cycling but pedestrian as well, runners as well. So that's why I mentioned it, the Triathlon Association, who do their run and ride, of course for swim, but in this case running and riding. That the Athletics Association, I recently spoke to her today. Me and her had a conversation about it several weeks ago at one of the events she came out to support, and we talked about this same topic. But yes, I think it's a campaign that we need to get on board with and lead this initiative to move forward. And that's something that me and my new board, which you and Mr. Nixon was part of, could start to get a moving on.
Yeah, it is extremely important. I mean, we've had you recall the gentleman. We used to talk about him, that he really looked like a real cyclist. He used to work at Villas Papagayos, I think, and he was riding to work one morning, and someone opened a car door, and he slammed into it, and unfortunately lost his life. So we've had, several lives lost, with people riding bicycles here. I'm told that we have a caller online, so let's take that caller. Caller, good morning and welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, gentlemen. Good morning, my brother. How are you?
Good morning, good morning. How are you, Sherry?
I am good. I want to tell you what a wonderful job, and that's a great donation that it's going to.
We expect to see you out there on your bike.
Oh boy, I'm overweight. Oh boy, I just really need it. But all right, I would love to thank you for introducing me back to cycling. You really did a good job. I mean, the body's in shape. The mind want to do it, but the body's not doing it. But yeah, I just wanted to wish you all good luck on that, and I would also like to donate and get a T-shirt, Mr. Marin. And I want to just say that's a great job that you all are doing, and it's going to a great cause. And I wish that many more people would just chip in and just, even if they can't cycle, just donate something, because that's good. That is great. I am proud of you all.
Thank you very much, and we're going to get Raul to give you the information in terms of how you can go on to the website to place your order for the jersey or to make a donation, Raul.
Yes, yeah, Sherry, you can actually go to caymanactive.com, and there's a registration area on that page. It's a landing page where there's 100-mile Feeder Future ride, and you click on that and you'll be able to put all your details and the size of the jersey, and it'll give you much more details on the ride. But thank you very much for your support. We really do appreciate it. You have any other questions or comments?
No, gentlemen. Thank you all. I will be letting people know about it that also cycles, because I have a new group that just started from Belize, and I will also introduce them to it and get them on board.
Right, and they're welcome to join us at 4:30 if they're early risers. 4:30 in the morning, the Daybreakers group. We leave from the Rubis service station in Savannah. If they live further in Georgetown, they can meet us around Hurley's Grand Harbor, the roundabout there, and join us for a 30-mile ride on weekdays. We have people of varying abilities, and we never leave anyone behind. So encourage them to join us if they want to. Or we have the Hurley's group that leave at 7 o'clock on Sunday mornings as well. That's a much faster group. They do a ride that's about 50-odd miles long as well, Cherry.
Okay, so that means if I start back riding, you won't leave me behind.
Certainly. Thanks, Cherry.
Have a good day.
You too, there. Folks, I want to remind you that you're listening to For the Record. I'm your host, Orrit Connor. My guest in the studio with me this morning, we have the Honorable Premier, Alden McLaughlin. He's sitting not in his role as Premier, but as a member of the cycling fraternity. We also have Mr. Craig Marin, the President of the Cayman Islands Cycling Association, and we have Mr. Raul Nicholson Coe, who is the Treasurer of the Cayman Islands Cycling Association and also closely affiliated with Feeder Future Cayman. I want to remind you that For the Record is also brought to you by LED, Lighting, Engineering and Design. Please stay tuned. We will be back shortly. Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. We're on the last segment of our show now, last 15 minutes. So we're going to talk some more about cycling, talk about cycling safety. Before we go there, though, I just want to mention to the Premier that as Minister for Health as well, we're seeing several of persons in the medical profession now, doctors who are immersing themselves into cycling as well. Of course, we have Dr. Rachel Gooden, who's a real avid cyclist and fast as well. She can beat many of the gentlemen, many of the men in the sprints. We have Dr. Douglas, who has joined us as well, and I think there was another doctor that I saw the other morning. I don't remember her name, but they're getting involved, in cycling as well. So that is commendable.
It's an absolute great sport, especially as we become, shall I say, more mature, and the old knees and legs start to protest a bit about from running. I used to run a fair bit, and I remember the aftermath of Hurricane Ivan. I must have put on 20-25 pounds, and I was out there pounding the pavement, trying to get back in shape. not as so easy to get back in shape as you get a little older, as it was when I was young, when I never put on an ounce, really. But and OC used to cross me on his way back home as I was coming in. He would turn around on the bike and encourage me to come and get out on the bike. And I say, oh no man, you guys go too early. And I one public holiday, he said, there's no excuse. Whatever time you get up, you come and we'll go. And he took me from his place. I didn't have a bike, didn't have shoes, didn't have anything. And we went up around the Queens Highway and around Northside. I thought I was going to die by the time I got to Jack Station. My backside hurt so much. And he waited there for about half an hour till I recovered, and we went down. And quite frankly, I was hooked after that. In 3 weeks' time, he had me doing 100 miles. Right. I mean, I was not in terrible shape from a cardiovascular standpoint, but I was heavy, you know, and I've just kept at it. And in many ways, I think I never saved my life, but it certainly made my life a lot better. I mean, I used to have borderline high blood pressure and those sorts of things. Since I've been riding consistently now for about 10 years, I have no issues at all, no issues with cholesterol, no issues with any of those things, which were starting to creep up on me as I matured. But it's amazing. I mean, and it's so much fun. It's so much fun, and there's so much camaraderie and friendships and so forth. I mean, we did 8 days. Well, we were gone for 8 days. We did 6 days riding in Cuba. OC, myself, and a few others, and it's just absolutely amazing. The opportunities to make friends, to have fun, it's amazing. I'd encourage anybody at any age really to start cycling. If you're young and strong and want to be competitive, there's huge scope for that. If you want to take it a bit easier and enjoy it, for the fun it is and for the exercise, the scope for that. So come on board, as many as possible.
Yeah, welcome all. Raul, again, talking about the Feed Our Future ride, we know that the Red Cross is one of those organizations that's going to be involved as well. They always have their vehicle out there patrolling the road back and forth, ensuring that everyone is fine. I want to talk some more about some of the safety measures that we have in place for this ride as well, so that those who are interested and are considering doing the ride will know that everything will be fine for them.
Yeah, well, safety is obviously our number one concern, but you touched on quite a number of things that would create greater awareness in terms of the respect of a cyclist, and we talk about the environment and the need to look for alternative ways and innovative ways to actually utilize the resources that we have, whether it be the road or the air, and to preserve it. And cycling is as the Premier has just articulated, is an amazing sport, but it's also a great sport for a small island nation like ours, where we can actually, preserve the environment. We can actually have beautiful vistas. Roads are really good, so why not utilize those roads, not only for exercise but for more utilitarian things such as going to work. I mean, if you go to New York or other cities, they do have bike lanes, and they have become a bit more aggressive with doing these bike lanes, but I think we have made the steps in the right direction to be able to do these things. And one of the things that I am concerned about is always safety, personally. And that's why I actually stopped, even though I wasn't a very good cyclist, Mr. Premier. I actually looked the part as well. So Craig Mayer would always say,
you look incredibly fit. I don't know what you're doing. Whatever you're doing is good.
Has the physique of a cyclist.
He's actually taking up mountain biking now in the back roads of the older dikes, and he's very good at that.
Which mountains?
As in the
off-road,
right.
So Craig would always tease me and said, Raul, you need this Flowers water truck behind you, the amount of water you drink on a 25-mile ride. But I just couldn't help it. I was raising a good side, but I just love the sport. And as you said, it actually gives you an appreciation of how, when you see people that are really good at the sport, the dedication, the level of training they must go. I mean, OC must be commended as you have used the word mature, I like that word, as he matures and his ability to be able to do 200 miles a week and still be able to function properly. And I mean, he can be.
And I think you guys see him going up the mountains in Cuba. Oh my Lord!
Yes,
He's a good climber.
Got a lot of training from South Carolina.
One of the other things I'd like to mention to do a punchline here, but VP just sent the Premier a message, is that sport tourism, which we get a lot of requests from tourists that come in that want to ride their bikes, ask about the routes.
We have our friend Greg Alford from Canada.
Yes.
And then, of course, we have Steve Dodds, who has a home here in East End, the bicycle doctor in Indianapolis.
But you also want to talk about the sport tourism aspect of it,
Indiana,
with riders coming down, avid cyclists, that want to just commute throughout Cayman during their visit, is also something that we have to be mindful of. They're not knowing the roads, especially being in the U.S. and they drive on the right-hand side. Over here we drive on the left, so it becomes a sort of difficult thing for them to adapt to. So the campaign could extend to that, and we have to be mindful of that, not only from a cycling association perspective, but from a country perspective, to also have these start this campaign, what I like to call the 3-foot rule, which we'll talk about that on another segment on your show. Yeah.
I mean, I actually wanted to touch on that because as part of Cycling Association's development and strategies for the future, we're working on a number of fundamental things. So we've gotten all of our, finances and auditing stuff in order. We're doing a review of our constitution because it has not been reviewed for a while. We've had a subcommittee who have gone through our constitution, compared it to others throughout the cycling world, Canada, Bermuda, Jamaica, the US, and we now have a constitution that actually is modern and it actually reflects what we want from a cycling association. But more importantly, in order to broaden the appeal of cycling, one of the things that we've discussed this morning is safety. That is tantamount, in my view, to broaden the appeal of cycling, where people are not seen to be a nuisance on the road, but part of a cohesive structure where everyone understands the benefits of using the roads, but also respect the other users of the roadways. So with that in mind, I know Craig and I have discussed it as a president in terms of what we can do. We're going to be doing a PSA campaign, so a public service announcement campaigns, working with a number of persons that are well known within the community for them to create PSAs that can be viewed, whether it's on TV, on the radios, on YouTube, on Facebook, and have a wide-reaching campaign that can touch everyone involved with cycling. And that's part of this. The appeal of cycling is to, when you have these types of rides, you're bringing in people with different abilities, different understanding, different comfort zones within the riding on the road. So unless we have established proper protocol in terms of safety, it's a daunting task. So with that in mind, we're working with the police, obviously, to ensure that the roadways are clear when we're riding. The Red Cross. We also have a number of volunteers from Feed Our Future as well, who are going to be helping. We have not riders, but vehicles that are going to be following the peloton. Well, I shouldn't call it a peloton because it's not the Tour de France, but the group of riders for the during the charter ride. So safety is key. But also fun as well. I mean, the Premier also said that. I mean, his first ride, he realized how fun it was until he actually got on the bike, and that's what this is. Cycling is a fun sport. It allows you to be out in the outdoors. I mean, Cayman has an amazing environment, and we don't really enjoy it, but cycling allows us to enjoy the outdoors, enjoy what we all love about our Cayman Islands.
And we've actually gotten members now that basically in their 30s, mid-30s, going into the 40s, that just have discovered cycling and didn't realize how much they enjoyed. I mean, I got Reese Banks, I got my ex-boss from Cayman Wallace-Dale, Nolan Stewart, who basically just taken up cycling. And Nolan and I have been friends from 1990, and he just said, "Boy, Craig, I remember the years you riding and racing and stuff like that." And I just discovering this sport. I never realized, he's a big horseman as well. But people like Nolan, people like Reese Banks, candidate, the Evans guy, Darrell Evans Jr., Sarita, Harvey, and a lot, Cat as well.
Sparrow.
Even Yeah,
all those guys. West Bay, they have a group there in the evenings as well. And before we go off the air, I want to give a big shout out and a special shout out to the guys that support us so well down at Hell Gas Station on a Sunday morning.
Oh, yeah.
You know, we make sure that we stop there and be socialized with them a little bit. The devil will come out and look for us, you know, as well whenever he's there. You know, I want to give a big shout out to them.
The news and a bottle of water and a cup of coffee. And we're good.
And I just want to say something also. Dr. Douglas's wife, we used to cross her on the road every morning. We didn't know who she was at the time, but you know, she would ride. You see her by herself 4:30 in the morning riding east on a Sunday morning. We'll cross her coming back down. She has now transitioned to a different bike. I think it may be carbon fiber as well, and she's been riding in the mornings. And because of the fact that she was riding on that heavier bike before, now that she has transitioned to a different bike, she is enjoying it immensely.
Yes.
And her second day out yesterday with us in the morning, she was able to maintain a pace between 18 and 19 miles an hour for a 30-mile ride. So again, we see people come out with varying abilities, and they see the improvement, and I think that has a lot to do with their enthusiasm as well. The fact that they see how much they improve as well. So we're getting to wrap up time, but I want to give this final spot to Raul so he can again just highlight the Feed Our Future Century Ride.
Well, thanks, OC. Yeah, clearly, if you guys want to have any more information on this ride, you can go to the Cayman Island Cycling Association website. You can go to Cayman Active. But if you want to speak to someone personally about it, you can either call myself on 516-5365 or Craig Merrin on
938-7827.
And if you go on the Cayman Active website, it's actually very easy to register. It's on the right-hand side of the page. You just click on it, go in, enter your name, your jersey size, and we'll be at the Cayman Bay location next to the Audi dealership on Saturday the 25th from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. where you can pick up your ride pack, which will include a ban, information on the route, the types of safety measures that will be in place. We'll also have a briefing as well in that time. So please come out. If you haven't been able to register online, you can actually come on Saturday and register there as well. But if you need more information, if you need a physical copy of the registration form, please call Craig or myself, and we'll be able to email it to you, and you can then print it off. I'd also like to thank, obviously, Mr. Premier for showing up. This has obviously made the show a lot more interesting.
This is a fun show. I don't get many of those.
Wonderful. And obviously, Mr. President, Craig and OC, thanks for giving us this opportunity. This is a great event that I am sure a lot of people will support. But going forward, we want to make this an annual event as well, because it does provide not only the physical benefits of using a bike, but also the nutritional benefit because of our partnership with Feed Our Future. And this is a partnership that the Cycling Association will maintain for a very long time to come.
Certainly, and for those day breakers out there, I want to say we want to have 100% turnout for this ride as well. We want the day breakers to be well represented on this ride.
And I would just like to, before we go, just to thank the board members for helping me to assist to put this together, especially Mr. Leslie Franklin and Mr. Andrew McLaughlin, Mr. Chris Weaver, Steve Abbott, and Sarita Harvey. Missing anyone else? Oh, and of course Mr. Edward Harper.
Yes, Edward.
Mr. Harper was actually the past president of the Jamaican Cycling Federation, who have basically come aboard and given us a hand to help streamline a few things.
And a strong ride as well. Likes to lead Rachel out, those sprints in the morning.
Yeah, so thank them for everything. And thank you, OC, for allowing us on For the Record today.
Premier, any final words?
No, well, yes, just encourage everyone who is able to come out and participate. This is a very, very worthy cause. And also, again, a shout out about Earth Day tomorrow and the cleanup campaign. So just if you could turn out in your numbers, in your district, in your little community, and help clean up some of the garbage that people who really don't care seem to throw along our roads. And just to say to everyone, it was great to be on the show, and wish everyone a wonderful day and a great weekend.
Thank you very much,
Thank you.
folks.
Thank you.
You've been listening to For the Record. I've been your host, Stuart Connor. My guest in the studio with me this morning, we had a special guest, the Honorable Premier, who's a cyclist. We had the President of the Cayman Islands Cycling Association, Mr. Craig Marin. We also had on Mr. Raul Nicholson Coe, who is the Treasurer of the Cayman Islands Cycling Association, as well as being closely associated with Feed Our Future Cayman and the Century Ride as well. I want to remind you that we are our brothers and our sisters' keepers. There is always someone out there who is less fortunate than we are, and I ask you to extend a helping hand to them. If you can't do that, then you should donate to a worthy charity. In this case, we urge you to donate to Feed Our Future Cayman. If you're not a cyclist, and you want to donate something, $20 or even less than that, please go on there, visit their website, and find out how you can contribute, how you can donate to them as well, because we are our brothers and our sisters' keepers. There is always someone out there who is less fortunate than we are, and we ask you to think about those who need, not necessarily about those who want. I ask you to have a great day. Continue to listen to Radio Cayman. Join Sterling Dwayne Ebanks at 12 noon for Talk Today. Have a great weekend. Stay safe, and God bless.